All right, I think it was called On-call and PagerLife. I can't remember what it was actually called. There was 3 of us there, and I think the most important thing was, how can I make my life, if I'm on call, much better, particularly while, in this case, just having a mobile device. And a lot of this turned into explaining to me what PagerLife is, because I've not been living PagerLife, and I'm sorry to those that have. And I've wanted to live PagerLife. I did one time, and I failed miserably at it because I didn't do anything, and it wasn't the right time to not do anything. And the reason why I didn't know how to do anything is because no one told me what to do. They just gave me the pager. And so I spoke or sort of worked with the 2 people to sort of give me information from them of what they sort of felt this would be. So when we started talking about being on call, and dealing with the idea of how can I make it so that I can just bring this smaller mobile device, it was a big problem in the sense of first we wanted to acknowledge that alerts were a problem. We essentially were getting a lot of alerts. These alerts were perhaps something that we should address with our system, but we weren't sure. And taking that is this something that we have an idea of how it's broken, to actually getting that, crystallizing it and taking it from a theory to actually being we do know that we have an incident and we do know we have to address that, and trying to get as much of that information into something portable that you can carry with you, that you can take on a vacation, you could take on the train, things like that. So what we looked at, or what we talked about, was a number of different technologies. Unfortunately, all that information is in this paper tablet that's electronic. I'll get it into the Slack channel afterwards. It essentially ran out of battery. But important things that we found was that including more context with these alerts would help in terms of the solving of this problem, or sort of addressing or moving things forward. The ideas were brought up, maybe these runbooks or these systems that normally required us to grab a computer, something with a keyboard, or essentially an iPad or any kind of sort of device with a keyboard. Is it possible to create some sort of system in which we can move it towards a mobile device and create it so we can execute things from, say, a runbook? So could the runbook or some sort of runbook-like thing perform some of the operations and the queries and sort of the interrogation for us? Could we get it so that we don't need to be in front of the source code with our editor open, with our SSH sessions, essentially this whole sort of multi-purpose tool? Could we get it to something smaller? And a lot of that turned into, really, it's a pain. I was just trying to edit this slide. It was really difficult on my mobile phone. It's not so difficult on the computer. And really, it was just mostly about friction. So the call to action at the 3 of us didn't really decide on what we should solve for our problems. But what was important was that the lens of looking towards how can we make things more accessible mobily in terms of a small device without a keyboard, really took away, or it framed the conversation in a way that we would remove frictions from that whole operation of setting up the Slack channels to sort of bring everyone into the incident that needs to, notifying everyone, and all those things. So that's it.